So then you need to realize a lot had changed. It had been me and you since you were 7 months old. And it was, I may seem like I'm jumping around, but I'm actually trying to really make sure I use the right words, is what I'm doing. So I started noticing that my thoughts would concentrate differently, especially around 2014. So for the sake of this part of my explanation to you for your answers, you have to know the background of how we ended up apart in the first place. It was a combination of things that you are 14 now, so you know you were much younger, and what was actually happening was kept secret a lot to kind of shield you from it. But there started being a conflict between myself and your grandparents, who are my parents. So this was something that God knew was going to happen and was really involved in. So we had come from a more perilous situation that I had already had some experience with as far as your home life. It was good because it was what was needed in order to for me to be able to provide for you and to go to work and then pick you up. And your granddad had gotten us an apartment, and we were doing pretty well there. And then every Friday would be your time with your grandparents. So it was how it needed to be then. But once we all started living together, and then it was me and you inside their home. So each person involved in how you were acclimating to things and what was going on with you was good in the sense it wasn't good at all. Because had it just been me and you, then the decisions would have been left to me. And then I was in a place where I was really getting closer and closer to my Heavenly Father, who is your Heavenly Father. And saying things like that used to cause conflict in their home. And it was based on what they were focused on, really. So it was a situation that turned into me starting to see there's too much conflict, and I'm gonna need to get us our own place. But I didn't know how to go about that. So what happened, well, your Nana thought I was crazy. So to kind of placate it, they seeked outside help. I'll say that. And right there, it was okay. Now this is not okay. That this just, before, we had a lot of conflicts where I'm just going to ignore everything except my son for a minute. And then that became no longer my decision anymore as well. So filling in the blanks for you, just being flat out straightforward, your grandparents were wrong. I went through an entire court case over you before. So I kind of knew more about what they were looking like they were about to start all over again. Ultimately, they did. But it gave me a lot of time to still walk the path I needed to walk to get us an apartment. So we had an apartment. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. But then that turned into having to look at what's going to come of this. Do you see how much of a mess this is? That's, if I don't give you details, it's because I'm keeping my promise, and I said I was going to go slow with you because you're going to judge it and you're going to remember. But I'm also trying to only say what I need to say, type of thing. And that's basically what I did in the household. So when I no longer have a choice in how you're raised, then something has to happen where it's gonna turn my mentality of someday I'm going to get him back. And then waiting. So in the meantime of waiting, there's been more conflict and more misunderstanding between me and your grandparents. But as the years progressed, I know your granddad sort of started to understand more and more and more. That's what time does. And then I started to seem more and more like I didn't know exactly what I was doing. And that's never been the case. It's been a case of you not being old enough and them not being in a position where we could actually just speak. Both them mistrusting me and me just at a point of, I have things I have to do to survive. You know that, right? And just not trying to be a part of something that I was clearly not able to be understood. So when you ask me specific questions, I have specific answers for you. What I'm answering now is what I believe you need to know. And each day I will answer more. Like these videos, I started kind of speaking like this, but more in a disciplined manner of using my words. And it made me seem weird because I was focused on something. It became, I'm only passing through, trying to rebuild my life with my son. And the fact that I stayed there for 3 years, waiting to see to the last minute, I waited to the last minute. Is this going to come together? Is the understanding of me going to be there enough for me to actually do what I was there to do in the first place? And that was to restore my mama's happiness, to restore your granddad's confidence and strength as the father in that household of all of you, from your perspective of all of you are God's children. So he had the most understanding, I'll say that. And then work together with all of you guys as far as, well, this is how we're going to live our happiest times because we are family, is how I was looking at it. And then waiting for that to happen. And you probably don't know, one Christmas, it was time for me to go, and I got on a Greyhound and I went to California, and then I used to get back on the same Greyhound. It was a 14-hour trip, spend a day with you, visiting with you, sleep on the Greyhound, go back to California. I kept doing all of that. Once the situation with our new apartment, and there was a reason I had 2 bedrooms. And I was also, sometimes I get this feeling, well, when it's serious, God gives me the words. So I use those words. I still look at you as small, and I still look at you with your higher pitched voice. I still remember the trust and the innocence and all of the, this is my dad. I listen to my dad. He's going to be there, type of relationship we used to have. So before I get out of my, I guess, churchy mode, I want to make sure you get the full story. I love you.